All right, let's dive right in. Today, we are tackling one of the most famous and maybe one of the most misunderstood ideas in all of spiritual philosophy, nirvana. What is it really? Well, the answer might be a lot closer and honestly a whole lot more surprising than you probably think. So let's just start with the biggest question that looms over this whole topic, right? Is nirvana just the end? A final exit? A complete shutdown of existence? For a lot of people, that's the main idea, and let's be honest, it can sound pretty grim. In fact, most of us tend to think about it in one of two ways. On one hand, you've got this idea of complete annihilation, where the self just gets extinguished, poof, gone forever. And on the other hand, people imagine it as some kind of eternal paradise, like a blissful heaven you go to when you die. But as we're about to see, both of these ideas completely miss the mark. To really get to the bottom of this, we're going to look at this incredibly dramatic moment from the scriptures. It involves the Buddha, right as he was seemingly preparing to enter his final nirvana, and a pretty desperate plea from a divine being. So picture this. As the Buddha is getting ready to depart, this major deity, the great Brahma, appears before him, literally in tears. He's begging him not to go, asking who's going to guide all the lost and suffering people in the world if he just vanishes into nothingness. He was basically voicing the fear that everyone felt. Now, this is where it gets really, really interesting. The Buddha's response. It wasn't just a simple, oh, don't worry, or my time has come. Now, what he did instead was deliver a teaching that completely flipped the whole idea of nirvana on its head. The first thing he says is, a bit cryptic, but super powerful. He explains that enlightened beings don't have a nirvana that they enter, but they also don't have a non-nirvana that they're outside of. The whole idea of a Buddha coming and going, it's all based on a huge misunderstanding. To make this clear, the Buddha uses this brilliant analogy of the sun and the moon. From where we stand here on Earth, they seem to rise and set, right? They appear and then they disappear. But in reality, they're always there. Their movement is just an illusion based on our limited point of view. And he's saying the exact same thing is true for a Buddha's presence. Okay, so let's really dive into this part, because this is where the teaching just turns everything we thought we knew completely upside down. If nirvana isn't a place a Buddha goes to, then what in the world is it? Here it is. This is the heart of the whole teaching. The Buddha tells Brahma that nirvana isn't some destination. It's not an escape plan. He says the very nature of your own mind, your awareness, right here, right now, that is the nirvana mind. But wait a second. That brings up a pretty obvious question, doesn't it? If our mind is nirvana, what about all the junk? The anger, the jealousy, the stress, the daily messiness of life? Surely that can't be nirvana. And this is where the teaching becomes just completely radical. The Buddha doesn't back down at all. He starts this breathtaking list, and he says that even our deepest afflictions, things like greed and anger, when you see their true nature, they are not separate from nirvana. And he keeps going. The whole spectrum of our emotions, from the deepest sorrow to the most ecstatic joy. Yeah, in their essence, that's nirvana too. Nothing gets left out. So what about our jobs? Our daily tasks, the work we have to do just to get by? Yep, he says even all of our worldly occupations are fundamentally nirvana. And this just shows how incredibly all-encompassing this is. Even sensual pleasures, the very things that are often seen as roadblocks or attachments on a spiritual path, they are themselves an expression of the nirvana mind. I mean, the full list is just staggering. It includes ignorance itself, our five senses, the entire cycle of suffering we try to escape from, every realm of existence, and even all of our dualistic thinking. The point is rock solid. There is absolutely nothing in our experience that is outside of this ultimate reality. Now hold on, because to be crystal clear, the Buddha gives a crucial warning here. This teaching is not an excuse to just do whatever you want. He's saying we have to avoid two major traps. The first is eternalism, which is clinging to this idea of nirvana as some real, separate heavenly place. The other trap is nihilism, which is thinking this all means nothing matters and there are no consequences. It's about recognizing the true nature of reality just as it is, not making up a new theory about it. So let's bring this all home. How does this come together into one practical, really profound instruction? The Buddha points directly at our own personal experience. He's saying that awareness that's within you, That part of you that is present through every situation, every thought, every emotion, the part that is never truly lost or damaged by any of it. That is your true nature. That is the nirvana mind. So, the ultimate takeaway is this simple, revolutionary idea. Nirvana is not a goal you have to achieve or a place you need to escape to. The whole journey is about turning inward and recognizing the brilliant, unshakable nature of what has been right here all along. And this just leaves us with a truly transformative question to think about. It's not about getting to nirvana someday. It's about realizing it's already here. So the real question becomes, if your mind right now is nirvana, how does that change the way you see everything?